Okay, so here we go, Charles. Thanksgiving Eve.
We begin it with a plea for money from the gentleman sitting behind me. Just asked if I could spare any change.
It's happening all over.
You know, the nice thing, when you go into a holiday weekend, you really want to leave as much garbage out on the street before Thanksgiving, thereby ensuring that the rats have extra time to go into it and scatter the food all over the place.
Well, rats have been limited to gatherings of less than 10 by the Emmy Award-winning governor, Charles.
That's right. Actually, somebody, I don't know if you've been following my Twitter feed today, but somebody put up a tweet directed to you of Andrew Cuomo's head on a turkey.
Oh, yeah.
And then somebody else followed that up with an Emmy Award. I think it was with
Grim Reaper?
The Grim Reaper, yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I brought that to the attention of Adam Sharp's attorney, well, Adam Sharp, the CEO, the president and CEO of the National Academy, not because I want them to sue the very talented political cartoonist. I think his name is Mike Ramirez.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
He's great. And this is a guy who is doing parody all the time. And
right.
You can't sue people for doing parodies. If you want to do idiotic things like give the governor an Emmy, that is worthy of criticism.
Right. Well, so let's start by complimenting the art department, because we always forget to do that. And in this case, I think you really put it together. The two strands that Steve Bannon has so adeptly been pounding on War Room Pandemic, and we've also been pounding it independently, are not simply that Biden and his family are a bunch of amoral, corrupt traitors, but that we've been on the receiving end of a whole bunch of hurt from the Chinese Communist Party since about 1988 or 89, whenever it was that we countenanced Tiananmen Square. And
Alexander Haig was involved in that.
I don't doubt that. But we instead of calling the Chinese to task, it was like, okay, you want to send tanks into demonstrators? We'll do business with you, sure, because you have all this slave labor that we can use. And Bannon makes the point to drive down the cost, to destroy the livelihoods of working class and middle class people, and make them more beholden to the crooked government that we're going to put on your neck around in the countries of the world that have achieved higher levels of income per capita and have a semblance of wealth.
Got a fire truck, Charles.
So the poster is the color of dirty money, and that, of course, is the great Paul Newman, Tom Cruise film about hustlers trying to out-hustle each other. But this has really been a long-term con job. If you read Dinesh D'Souza's book, one of his books, he talks about how international capitalism has actually lifted the living standards of more people in the world than ever before. And yes, it's true that people in India and China per capita are richer than they once were prior to 1989, but at what cost? At what cost to the breakdown of society inside this country, for example? And we witness it again. We're walking close to Macy's and Herald Square here, which ordinarily would be bustling with activity right now. And because there is no Thanksgiving Day parade, there's basically no Thanksgiving.
I mean, isn't that the first time since they've had the Thanksgiving parade that it's been
I don't know. Like I'd be curious. Some people in the crowd can tell us whether during World War II and maybe World War I, if Macy's was around then, whether the parade continued. But I'm sorry, no, I don't have a light.
Yeah,
and obviously I'm not in the middle of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Feel free to interrupt this podcast.
I don't like that question, do you have a light? There's something else coming after that. Look at this, the Manhattan Mall entrance is blacked out, Charles. I've never seen that before.
It's whited out. Don't be racist.
Sorry. But I mean, look at that. People are going in there. What's going on?
I don't know.
That's weird.
People can't smell the aroma, but
Yeah.
I'm basically getting high walking down the street,
Yeah, I know.
which is not a good thing. So here we have the local branch of Gucci's and Louis Vuitton. The per square foot rents here are very high. Each purse comes with a certificate of authenticity. Just the perfect stocking stuffer for you to put under your tree, which you're of course not going to be allowed to celebrate with more than one other person, maybe.
Does that include Santa Claus, or
I don't know.
Santa Claus is in the
He's stuck,
vulnerable?
right?
You know, he's
Exactly. He
overweight,
definitely has comorbidities.
over 65.
Yeah.
He's eating cookies all the time.
Hanging around with deer, which
He's
are
got to be
actually,
diabetic.
that's right, with hanging around with reindeer.
Yeah, they get MERS from those reindeer. MERS. Huh. Uh-oh. I hope we don't get radio interference from these police vehicles. If we do, Charles, I'll put the whole episode
All right.
on subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth and patreon.com.
These are quite a few of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here with unusual vehicles that I haven't seen before.
Right.
What is this here?
It's a Life Safety Systems Division mobile command post.
What is that?
Probably $500,000.
Right. Now, but there was an
Oh yeah, there
announcement,
is
Charles,
apparently. There's stuff going on here. Maybe
yeah,
there
because
is.
they said that they're going to have it on television, the magical world of television, but there's not going to be a parade going all the way down. Like, you're not going to be able to march or watch. Nobody under 18 is allowed to be involved in the parade because, as we know, something like 32 people in that category have died of COVID since March. So,
And you're not allowed to smile anymore either.
exactly.
Right. Or enjoy any aspect of your life.
One thing I wanted to see over here, Charles, people who aren't in New York may not realize that today is the day, Thanksgiving Eve. This is when they're normally inflating the famous balloons, and you can usually see that. Boy, there's a lot of radio vehicles over there, satellite
Why do you
stuff.
think there are so many?
Because this is where the thing is going to be broadcast from tomorrow.
I see.
They're going to have it on TV, but it's not going to be a full parade, and I'm trying to find out. Okay, we see a turkey over there on Macy's. You see it?
De Blasio?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a tom turkey.
But I don't know
We
if
get
we can
close.
see any balloons.
I think this is NBC credentials required. So this must be getting ready for the show.
I see a Steadicam. I wonder if...
Do you want to go
That was here.
up this way? And
Sure.
just because I remember we always get cut off around.
Just sort of see if we notice. Is Phil Martinez with you guys? You don't know. All right.
Who's Phil Martinez?
Hey, Charles, check it out.
What?
They're going to have a virtual reality presentation of this.
Where?
This ridiculous thing right here is, I think, a Nokia virtual reality camera.
Wow. Looks like a mine.
It looks
Yeah.
like a Jedi training device, but
Right.
what it actually is a crappy virtual reality camera.
So here we are, close to the front door at Macy's, which again, in a normal Thanksgiving, yeah.
This stabilizer has no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no whatever, but I felt it really violently vibrating right before the thing cut out. So I think we're being subject to some kind of radio waves over there.
Wow. It generally happens right there. I mean, perhaps there's security.
But think about it. What if it's having I mean, we don't feel it in our bodies, but I could feel it on these machines. Something is happening there.
Right. It's 5G, Jason.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was probably all those police and television vehicles with satellites all over them doing who knows what.
Right.
But I
So-
hope people will come back to the show here.
So I was on a tear talking about the poster, which
Right.
depicts the leader of the Chinese Communist Party in China, Xi. As the puppet master behind Biden and Kamala Harris. And if you think about it, with all the advances in technology, with our ability.
Yes, again. I mean, maybe it's just coincidence.
Yeah, I think this is some kind of zone.
It's the lone zone.
Are you going to be able to cut it back?
I'm gonna get it back right. Check. Yeah, okay. We're back.
So with all the ability that you have to put on these many shows that you do, and that we all have to access information, open source, we know less about actual crimes, actual criminal allegations that have been credibly asserted and confirmed by Tony Bobulinski and others on the laptop from hell and through other sources.
Right.
We know less about that than we should know. And we know absolutely nothing about Kamala Harris's policy prescriptions, defects in her record, what her husband may have been doing for the Chinese Communist Party and for Chinese companies and the law firm where he works. We know none of that. And what we're racing towards now is the coronation of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as rapidly as possible, so that Biden can then subject this country to this global reset, which the World Economic Forum is propounding, which is a good way of describing it. Another way would be knocking us over the head.
New York Times says it's a conspiracy theory, Charles.
What? The global reset is?
That's what they said. The Great Reset, they said, is a conspiracy theory at the same exact time that Time magazine had a whole cover piece on it, and Klaus Schwab published a book about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe the New York Times is a conspiracy theory.
Again, it's cheaper than cat litter, so if you like cats, there's an argument for it. Other than that, not my thing. So they're racing like hell to do this, and now one of the villains that we want to talk about is a gentleman called Mark E., middle initial E, Elias, E-L-I-A-S. You can find him on Twitter at Mark E. Elias with a blue check. Now, you could also find him extensively in some of the emails that Hillary deigned to release, the 33,000 emails that she released in December of 2014, the Podesta WikiLeaks emails. You'll see, if you Google on Elias, you'll see his name many, many places. This is a person who is a top lawyer at the firm Perkins Coie, C-O-I-E. He was heavily involved in 15 and 16, brokering the agreement between Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee in the various campaigns, wherein I would argue, and I'm not a lawyer, money was illegally raised for all Democratic candidates when it instead was siphoned into Hillary's campaign. So I would argue Elias was centrally involved in a scheme to deny Bernie Sanders a fair chance at running and trying to get the nomination in 15-16. He then likely was involved suppressing the Clinton Foundation investigation, suppressing the email investigation, and doing his level best to try to get Hillary across the line.
Just as a lawyer at a law firm?
Sure, because he's the top political elections lawyer. And he's working on, for these national campaigns, you've got to file paperwork everywhere, and you've got to make fair disclosures, and you've got PACs and other things. And he was really one of the masterminds of that process in 15-16. He likely knew that the skullduggery in which the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, and others had been engaged since 1988 and 89. And we see, and there's some, I'll use this, it's a technical term, jackass, who's trying to get Giuliani disbarred.
Wait a minute, don't use such complicated legal language, Charles.
Kicked out of the legal profession.
I meant jackass.
Oh,
why is the Bank of China totally surrounded by this fence?
I don't know. But so on the one hand,
Giuliani disbarred.
Yeah, on the one hand, they try to get Giuliani disbarred for protecting the president and I would argue the Republic's interest in making sure that we have a free and fair election, and if we don't, and if has been a conspiracy to defraud the American public of their right to participate in a free and fair election, then I would argue Giuliani and Trump, as the current chief legal officer or chief magistrate, have every obligation, not right, every obligation to go into this and bring the perpetrators of this massive fraud to justice forthwith. So on the one hand, they say, well, Giuliani, for leading that effort, should be disbarred, but Mark Elias should be sainted, basically. And I think
going to be part of the Biden cabinet in any way?
Well, Bob Bauer is the top legal advisor.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
good to see you.
Great job.
Hey, that's so awesome. Right, I forgot her first name, but she gave us her
Dominican
Instagram
Republic.
or something.
Yeah.
That was the woman who was giving the speech.
Was it Yvette? Or that was a different one?
I can't recall, but people can go back and look at last Sunday's video. See, that's the thing that people don't realize about New York City, Charles. There are a lot of nice people around, and it isn't somewhat like a small town sometimes.
Well, I mean, we're sitting in perhaps we're walking on one of the busiest streets. It's actually busier now than I expected. And people at random are coming over and saying, hey, Jason, how you doing?
That's pretty awesome.
They must know you.
Right.
So the double standard here, and the idea that the only people who get investigated are targets of the globalists, the people who get protected are the globalists, and that that the legal profession should be self-governing.
That's crazy.
It really is. There has to be a better system of checks and balances. It can't simply be that if you engage in corrupt activities, criminal activities, and under the guise and color of being a lawyer, an officer of the court, there has to be examples made of people like Mark Elias and Bob Bauer and others, and David Kendall. They have to. It can't simply be, oh, you lose your law license.
Right. I've been saying for a while, Charles, anybody who's an officer of the court, and a lawyer, a cop, somebody who's intended to uphold the law, there should be, like, if stealing a pack of gum is 3 years in jail, if you're a lawyer and you do that, it should be 6 years.
Well, which brings us to the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and an act written afterwards. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but basically the 14th Amendment contains, this was after the War of Northern Aggression was settled, otherwise known as the Civil War.
Right.
This act, this 14th Amendment, made it quite a criminal offense for anyone who had sworn an oath of office of fealty to the United States and the Constitution, who engages either in insurrection or rebellion, suffers extremely serious penalties. And that's, I think, exactly what's been going on since about 1988. You would say 1945. Some might even say 1918. We've got a bunch of genius experts, Grubers, the people who believe they're smarter than everybody else, have decided that nation states are antiquated. Why should we have these anymore? Let's instead control the world from Davos. And let's have everybody submit to this global, they call it order, it's chaos, wherein pointy-headed lawn garden gnomes like Klaus Schwab and Dr. Tony Fauci and others will start prescribing solutions for all of the Earth's people who they allow to remain alive.
Right.
You know, let's control the population by putting them in big cities. There are too many people on this planet, goes their theory.
Yeah.
So let's encourage people above a certain age to check out. Let's foist vaccines on people, whether they're truly effective or not, whether the disease in question is truly as lethal as originally advertised. And let's just trample on the rights of any minority. Anybody who wants to disagree with us, we'll put them in Twitter jail, Google jail, Yahoo jail, actual jail, Facebook jail.
That's the dangerous part.
We'll deprogram them, demonetize them, and re-educate them. And if they won't submit to re-educate them, to listen to Keith Olbermann, who really is certifiably insane in my view, along with Joe Scarborough's wife, second wife.
Daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Well, it's probably the second or third biggest mistake Joe has ever made in his life. We can allude to the other mistake that involves an intern. Missing intern. Here, Mika and others, and James Carville and others, are assuming that Trump will not prevail, and are saying that anybody who supports Trump, has supported Trump or the Trump administration, deserves to be prosecuted in the new regime. And
it's just crazy.
Well, it is. It's outrageous.
I mean, that's North Korean style. That's even worse. I mean, I don't even want to compare that to another country because it's insulting to any other country, but that is total military dictatorial.
Right. Now, I suppose Joe is feeling his oats because Fox ratings, which used to dominate in his competitive group, Fox is down, in certain shows, down 50% since the election.
Good.
Deservedly. They should be down 85%, or if it's possible, 95%. These are some crazy ideas. There's been, today it's what, the 26th, I guess, is it?
25th, no?
We were stopped again on a moment of silence. But people will remind us that it's the 25th.
25th, okay. 22 days following the election. We're just supposed to accept potentially millions of votes having been suppressed for Trump and manufactured for Biden, notably in the key swing states, which in theory, as of yesterday, suggested that Biden might have gotten the requisite 270 plus electoral votes. But after waiting for some time and hearing my reaction, your reaction, anybody who's been through this before, is if there's evidence of fraud, show it to us. Finally, we're seeing it.
Yeah.
We're seeing the team has had enough time to react, has had enough time to find witnesses, to get affidavits, to check the veracity, double, triple check it.
But moreover, Charles, I think they were waiting for the right moment to present, which was today in front of the Pennsylvania State Legislature, where, Charles, I got to tell you, as disappointed as I was yesterday that it felt like momentum was in Biden's favor, I feel like today there was a shift of the pendulum towards Trump and Giuliani and the legal team. I mean, anybody, even if you want Joe Biden to be president, how can you stand by all these accusations, all this credible evidence, and say, oh, no, don't look at that, let's just accept it and let's move forward together? It's like, no. We need this investigation to happen.
And by the way, I don't know if Sidney Powell's brief is filed yet, but Lynn Wood, the Georgia-based lawyer, has had a tweet out this morning reminding everybody that this didn't start in 2020. This is part of a long-standing plan. And there's a lot of good evidence. There's a screenwriter and investigative journalist called Roger Simon, who has a long piece going through the origins of Smartmatic and Dominion systems and the migration of voting practices in this country from checkable, verifiable, old-fashioned paper ballots to the new electronic systems, which are so rife with opportunity for fraud.
Black box.
Yeah. So I had a busy day today and I had to do an errand, but I did have a minute right before, half an hour or so, to watch some of the live hearing, and I watched a tweet somebody sent out, I think it was Team Trump, where they talked about a statistician or an expert was saying that they'd followed the course of voting, they had the records minute by minute, and they could see what the votes were, and they could see these spikes, where on a number of different occasions the voting just spiked way up. And the estimate of the amount was 600,000 in Pennsylvania alone, in a portion of Pennsylvania alone. And in front of this hearing, Giuliani asked how many of those votes were for Biden. And the guy said, what was that, 600? He said 573,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then how many were for Trump? 3,200. And the room just spontaneously burst out laughing. It was like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, between the fact or given the fact that there was no reliable chain of custody for the ballots, there were all these anomalies and observers, Trump supporting observers not being given a chance to observe the opening of mail-in ballots, and many other problems. That's the 5 set. It strikes me that in Pennsylvania, also with the court decision today, stopping certification for the moment, and the decisions by a number of other state legislatures to allow hearings such as the one we've seen in Pennsylvania, and then the discovery that in, I think, Clark County, Nevada, which is Las Vegas,
Yep.
and here we are, News Corporation, I think in Clark County, they discovered a 6,000 vote error, 6,000 votes counted for Biden, that there were no such votes. And so you start looking at this, and you look at the margins in these key states, and you look at the law, you look at the rush to stuff Joe Biden into the White House with, as I forget who was calling her this, Kabbalah Harris, somebody called her, you know, with no vetting. You look at all this, it is certainly circumstantial evidence of guilty conscience, or more than guilty conscience, of a conspiracy. And then you sit back and you say, all right, do we believe that Americans are fundamentally smart or fundamentally stupid when it comes to an election?
Depends
Maybe we
on
could
which
say,
ones you're talking about.
all right, and I'm just saying, a nation taken as a whole, if you're going to decide to actually vote, not use, not crooks, but if you're going to think about the issues, do we really believe that the gaff-tastic Joe Biden, having spent 47 years in government screwing things up, who did not campaign, who remained in his basement watching the washer-dryer go around and pretending it was a television, I'm making that part up,
Yeah.
do we really believe that America, particularly in these key states, swing states, voted for Joe Biden in numbers that exceeded the vote that Barack Obama got in 2012 when he was at the height of his popularity by, I think, 12 million votes? Do we really believe that?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
No, I think the Joe Biden supporters do. I mean, it's important, Charles, to bring up. I don't imagine you follow Alyssa Milano either
I'm
from the
dating her.
time. Oh, well, that's
No,
congratulations.
Absolutely not.
But she is constantly on Twitter, and she put out this sentiment yesterday where she's like, "Oh, now it's time for us to put all this aside and join hands and unite." It's like, no, it isn't. Now it's time for people to acknowledge that there is, in fact, wait, we should cross on this side because we don't have a crosswalk there. Now is the time for people to acknowledge that even if you want Joe Biden to be president, the fact that there's a question, I mean, if you're an honest broker and someone challenges your integrity, you should say, that's fine, you can investigate every aspect of this, there's nothing wrong with it. Spend your time until the certification is over. Take your time until January 20th. We're going to sit back here and wait until the legal and constitutional process is complete.
Jesus.
We're not going to attempt to hijack this by claiming to be the president-elect and you know, forcing all this momentum and making all these speeches. He said he's going to give an address today. I was
Today
like,
or
dude,
tomorrow? Or
I
today
said,
or
Joe,
tomorrow?
you don't even know your own home address. Sit down and shut up.
Maybe he said he was going to wear a dress today.
That would be good.
No, I mean, I thought he was going to give an address on Thanksgiving Day, which would be appropriate in that he is a turkey.
Exactly. I think he was trying to distract people's attention from this hearing in Pennsylvania. And when I was looking at other lefty lunatics on Twitter, who I'm frequently counteracting their stupidity, they were all, you know, putting just literally like social engineer dumb tweets to mock what was going on rather than, you know, these are people who don't care about the integrity of the election as long as they can cheat and get it to go in their favor.
Well, and what was interesting is the tales of woe that were being delivered. I listened to one particularly brave young lady who claimed to have been involved in election processes for a long time, who claimed she was not, I forget if she said she was a Democrat or a Republican, but she said she didn't care particularly who won. She wanted to make sure the process was fair.
Right. That's what everybody should want.
And the room just erupted in spontaneous applause.
Yeah.
And she went on, and she described a horrific situation where the administrators in the polling precinct where she was supposed to be a watcher, the judge was crooked, the majority person was crooked, and then when she complained, they threatened her. Physically threatened her.
A lot of people
6
have
men,
stories like that.
threatening. And then they said, if you don't back down, we're going to turn this into a race issue.
Wow.
It's just outrageous if that stuff is true. And frankly, the tale, the Biden fable that he actually came from behind, never having campaigned effectively anywhere.
4 a.m. victory.
Yeah, it's preposterous. And I'd love to see, if there are crowdsourcers who can do this, I'd love to see somebody figure out the number of minutes that Joe Biden spoke in 16 in Pennsylvania versus the number of minutes that Donald Trump did.
Right.
And then multiply those number of minutes times the number of people estimated in the audience. So you get minutes per audience member.
Yeah.
And I bet you the difference is probably 99.5% Trump and 0.5% bite me.
Charles, the entertainment bush appears to be closer to ready.
This is a Festivus bush.
Yeah, they also have the baby Superman spaceship on top.
Yeah, no cross. They have a few American flags though.
Isn't it usually flags of all the different nations?
Not for Thanksgiving.
But normally, right?
Normally, but I think for Thanksgiving.
Let's go look from the front and see
Sure.
how it's doing. People were pretty upset about this tree initially. I don't know that much about giant Christmas trees or what is involved in staging them, but I imagine it's possible that when it first comes out of the box, it doesn't look as good as it will by the end.
Some argue that the Festival of Light, adopted by Christians, has ancient antecedents. You see a little bit of that when you fly into Scandinavia in the winter. Do you want to go this way? Yeah. You fly into Scandinavia in the winter, and as you land, typically in rural Scandinavia, you'll see all these evergreen trees. You used to see them with white lights, typically in them. It's really beautiful.
Well, I wanted to come up here. I hoped we would see some balloons, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, they're normally getting inflated somewhere in the 70s, but
yeah, we're not going to walk up there.
No,
that's
and that's
usually ice skating.
Yeah. Well, it's holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas time. That's when the ice skating happens, so I wanted people to have an opportunity to see it. But Charles, when I was watching that hearing in Pennsylvania, I just had a real sense of watching history being made.
Right. Look, there's a penguin.
Where?
Fake penguin.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a very Thanksgiving East song. Last Dance.
No. Hopefully it's not the last dance. I don't know if I ever told you the story about when I was hanging out with penguins.
With who? Penguins?
Penguins. I'll have to tell you later. I don't know if it's appropriate for on air. But the tree is close to done, I guess.
It looks much better, actually. They fluffed it up.
Yeah, when's the lighting ceremony?
The 2nd, and Gwen Stefani will be here. I only know that because instead of watching Fox News last night, I was watching The Voice.
I like Gwen Stefani.
She's funny and a great singer.
No doubt, was great, yeah. Well, that's cool for people to see the tree. So, Charles, what do you think will happen as a result of that
I think
Pennsylvania state legislature hearing?
I think we've got an exercise in, on the one hand, brute force and raw power, willing to break the law, to ignore the regulations, to cheat, lie, and steal, and threaten, who are desperate to force the result of having a demented oaf occupy the Oval Office, alongside, I would argue, somebody who does not have the interests of America, the best interests of America in her heart
At
all, versus a sitting president who has been fighting forever against an entrenched bureaucracy, Republicans and Democrats, who correctly fear what happens when you rip the scab off these wounds. And you go back and you look not simply at 2020, not simply at 15 and 16, but you examine why is it that the Uniparty is so dead set upon resisting and ousting Trump. What do they fear? And I think the answer is they don't want us to understand how many tens of trillions. What?
We'll get a nice shot of you presenting here in front of the tree.
Or
Charles.
how many tens of trillions of dollars, maybe hundreds of trillions if you count across the world, of debt has been piled upon the system by crooked globalists who want unregulated life, or actually they want a free pass where they sit above all law, steal as much as possible, and micromanage we the peons, the overwhelming majority of the world. And so I think they all fear that Trump has the substance on his side, the facts on his side, but they control the system.
Lawfare on their side.
Yeah, they have lawfare, they have the media, and when we think about the mainstream media, they're all in for China.
We see how they're doing it now. The mainstream media, these celebrities on Twitter, these social media influencers who are just pounding Twitter with pro-Biden nonsense. We've now learned that the National Academy, the International Academy, and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences are actually 501c6 organizations, so they do have the ability to engage in political activity, but I don't know if the general public knows that their tax dollars are going to subsidize the activities of what is essentially a PAC. Mm-hmm. What is going on here, Charles?
I don't know, I don't see, there's...
Isn't that weird?
Went that way. We'll walk up to Trump Tower and see if there's any...
So they're practically a PAC. Why are they allowed to be tax exempt?
I'm not familiar with 501c6s, so I can't really answer that question. But another thing I think that we see is that where one would have expected with the advances of technology and the increasing complexity of life, that there would be more and more outlets to expressing opinion, more and more pipes through which thoughts could be exchanged. Tubes, yeah, exactly.
Of the internet?
Pneumatic tubes of the internet.
Oh,
and
are those guys new?
Yeah, I think so. Well, since last time we were here. And so, in reality, Google, Facebook, Twitter, the emailing systems, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, various payment processing operations are basically controlled by a handful of people. Then you get into the financial world, controlled by a very small number of financial institutions, or there are fewer and fewer medium-sized ones, and a handful of very large ones in different sectors that dominate things. And so, unfortunately, there's been this headlong rush to embrace globalism, and in that process, the Chinese see themselves as the most populous nation on earth, and therefore, despite the fact that their economy is still minuscule compared to the United States in terms of its breadth and depth, they believe that they have every right to rule. And they figured out how to pay people off. Here you have Dr. Henry Kissinger. He's not a medical doctor, he's a PhD, pushing 100, trying to warn off people who will oppose China, because if we oppose them too much, that might trigger World War III.
Oh, that's like you say that, Charles.
That bully is going to get mad if you don't punch him in the face. That's exactly the wrong advice that you give when a bully surfaces. You take that bully, you take a brick, and you punch that person's face in with a brick, and then they stop bullying. Theoretically speaking, yeah. I'm not talking about punching.
We're not condoning violence.
Yeah, no.
Wow, look at that, Charles.
Beautiful. Cartier.
What is that?
it's very beautiful.
That's Cartier?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Their stuff is incredibly overpriced, but it's very
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah, the Panther, Cartier Panther watch.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that, I don't know that I have ever seen a more creative or impressive exterior.
Oh, you'll see more as we go up.
That's nice.
Yeah. But again, this is empty.
It is. I mean, people who are not familiar with this will say, oh, there's a lot of people, New York is back. No. You normally right now would honestly, usually when I come up here at this time of year, I have to leave because it's so packed with people.
Yeah.
It's literally uncomfortable to walk. You're like shoulder to shoulder.
Right, you can't walk down the street. You typically have to go into the avenue if you want to make any kind of fast pace. So that's what we're fighting for here. We have this contested election. We have the other side, that is to say Biden and the people behind Biden, tasting victory, delighted that they think that Biden will be the occupant. I would guess if for some reason he does prevail, which I hope he doesn't, but let's say he did, I wouldn't give his life expectancy. I would be surprised if he lasted a year.
I don't think he's making it to January, but
and I don't wish him.
No. But that's their plan for this whole scheme, and then maybe Andrew Cuomo or Hillary Clinton or some idiot like that gets involved. But Charles, again, back to that Pennsylvania legislature hearing, I feel like they finally moved their chess piece into position, and now it made a lot of sense because, as I said, I was watching Twitter while I was watching that thing, and all the blowhards who claim to be so morally and intellectually superior, they're not absorbing this argument and counteracting it with a logical counter-argument. They're just trying to shout over and shove Biden in there without any regard for the law, the rules. I mean, this is so dangerous. What I would really like to do with this show, Charles, this particular episode, is to appeal to sensible people who don't know. Because I always feel like there's good people and there's bad people. And there's a lot of people who know the facts of a situation, and then other people who don't know the facts of the situation. And, you could disagree with someone and be an honest, well-intentioned person, and there's a way you're going to act in that case. There are certain people who've been fooled by these social engineering operations, whether they're coming from the news or fakers on social media. And I want those people to really ask themselves, if there's nothing at all wrong, why would they rush? Right.
Exactly.
There's just tons of evidence, and it started being shown today.
Right, and I think the other thing is that the magnitude of the fraud, the apparent fraud, is so vast. We haven't mentioned that no relation to Jeffrey Epstein, but Dr. Epstein, who had previously said before the election that Google had the power to shift many votes, is now saying they shifted 6 million votes in the way that the search results were curated to encourage progressives and liberals to vote and to suppress bad news about Biden. I don't know if that number is right or wrong, but I think the evidence that we see through these hearings and lawsuits appears compelling, speaking just as somebody who is comfortable with basic arithmetic and spotting patterns and saying, I do not buy the professed results of the 2020 election, especially in key states, compared to 16, 12, and 8, as being remotely credible.
I think from a legal standpoint, the problem for the Google arguments are going to be that there may not be specific election laws against that. It could just be that that's one of those cases of technology being ahead of legislation.
Well, I think, again, to the fair-minded people out there, when you read the Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, state legislatures, and state legislatures alone, not the governor, not the Secretary of State, are responsible for crafting the laws and regulations that apply to federal elections as they are conducted across these United States and their respective territories. And the crispest arguments that I think will actually redound to Trump's benefit and indeed to the benefit of the Republic are the instances state by state where people have gone around, whether it's Stacey Abrams in Georgia with her consent deal that was not approved by the legislature, or the change in mail-in voting provisions that occurred in Pennsylvania outside the ambit. Those cases will, I think, ultimately be decided in favor of the Republic, in favor of Trump.
But in time.
Well, quickly. No, but I think these issues have been flagged. The justices in the Supreme Court understand the magnitude here. They understand the consequences of letting a horrible decision pass.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, actually, another Linwood tweet today brought Epstein up.
What did he say?
And said something like, the Epstein case will not go away. Expect to hear more about interesting people on Epstein's manifest, including John Roberts, Bill Gates, and others. So I found it interesting that Lynn Wood would get into that. So here we are, across the street from Trump Tower. I think Gucci, that's not the real Gucci store. The real Gucci store is the one up and down the sidewalk where all those guys on the car. No, that's the real Gucci store. And I guess it's quite big now. It used to be just there, but it's over there too.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And from memory, Trump, when he put his financial disclosure form in, he argued that the lease that he negotiated with Gucci is worth an enormous amount of money in his net worth statement. So here we are. Actually, I'm surprised that we don't see more protesters. It seems very quiet here.
Yep.
I guess the protesters are, where do you think they are? They're on their private jets down in the Bahamas somewhere?
I don't know, maybe they're getting ready for Thanksgiving, because you know, Cuomo's disappointed that the sheriffs aren't going to arrest people for Thanksgiving, but I guess if you go burn somebody's house down for Thanksgiving, that's fine.
Now they celebrate Thanksgiving at Thanksgiving, right?
That's right.
So we could go, I don't know if the sheriff's people would be in front of
Grand
Central Station,
Let's
or
take
whether
a
they
look.
should be at Port, they'd probably be at Port Authority.
Why not Grand Central?
We could try either one.
So tell people what that's all about. I don't know if we were talking about that on camera.
Yeah, so the edict has come down on high from Governor Gorilla, Cuomo, and others, that we're now going to have checkpoints in New York near places where out-of-towners are likely to have entered the city, and those people will be interviewed by sheriff's deputies and be asked questions, some of them, and then be forced to across the street and go down. This Louis Vuitton store is not, again, it's like the Gucci store, it's not the real one. The real one is on the sidewalk. No, that's the real one. But you see how that's clad in plastic? It's kind of interesting.
What was Mussolini's title, Charles?
Generalissimo?
Was it?
I think it was.
That was Franco.
What? I don't know.
Mussolini.
I know I'm old, but I wasn't around then.
Because that's kind of what Cuomo is.
No, Cuomo is a moron, less on,
Yeah.
drunk on power.
Really bad. I thought it was a terrible political decision for him to accept that Emmy, given that so many people in New York City feel, and there's still is it a CIPRA investigation by the Department of Justice into what went on at these older care homes. I was reading some facts about that, Charles. Apparently, they were denying the hospitals, they were demanding that the hospitals not test.
The older people?
Sorry, not the hospitals. What would happen was when an older person was discharged from the hospital and sent back to the care home, they were forbidden at the care home from testing that person for COVID.
Oh, of course.
But now they're saying, oh no, you got to go stand outside Doc in the Box or City MD or whatever it is every day and get tested if you're, not at risk. And Cuomo is, just refuses to acknowledge any wrongdoing. He's a genius. Wear a mask.
We see what people don't quite understand yet is what all you're doing with this is creating a market for fake test certificates. right? It'll come down to presenting. If they continue on this path, you're going to be forced if you go on a train or a plane or.
It's already happened.
Right.
Qantas announced that the International Travel and Safety Authority has announced that they're almost done with their digital health
What am I
passport.
doing here? We're on 57th Street.
Oh yeah, let's go down to Grand Central.
Like, where's Grand Central? It's supposed to be
Well,
over there.
it's nice for people to see. How come they don't have the big? There's usually a snowflake hanging up here.
The moon, right?
What?
They're trying to take
This,
pictures of the moon.
No.
I was wondering.
It's beautiful. The over there is a nice next to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the moon is
Moonstruck.
The moon? Snap out of it. People keep talking about Moonstruck. No, I was saying there's normally a snowflake hanging above the street here for Christmas, and it's not there. And then we're also outside of IBM, which is all Christmased up.
Should we go down Park, or do you want to go down?
Whatever you want to do.
This is probably going to be less interesting than going down
Sure.
Park. We'll see. But look, here's prime 57th and Madison, vacant, right? Totally, that's a prime location. Right over there is a very expensive hotel. Forget which one that is. Four Seasons, I bet, from memory. And this is used to be some of the highest rents, retail rents in Manhattan and in the world, right here. You shouldn't have these vacancies. You just shouldn't. I mean, normally what happens is there's a waiting list to get this prime space.
Yeah.
And this could have been vacant for so long and remain vacant through prime shopping season.
Crazy.
It's testament to the.
Emmy Award-winning performance of
Yeah.
our leadership.
So back on the Checkpoint Charlies we're going to have,
Right.
you're going to get off much the same as we see with the after 9/11, the idea that to protect all of us, what we're now going to do, instead of getting to the airport an hour in advance or 2 hours, you got to get there 4 hours in advance. You got to take off almost all your clothes. You got, you can't bring any toiletries with you of a certain size. You got to submit to all these rules, and then if you dare to question, what is this?
Vacant.
Yeah, if you dare to question one of these homelands,
They could just
they
throw
go
you in a
ballistic
hole.
on you. Here's another one, office-based police.
Charles, I was watching a YouTube video about the airport in Dubai, and Emirates
one.
Air. I know. I mean, this was all full of stuff just even a couple of days or weeks ago. But what Emirates is doing now in the Dubai airport, which is one of the largest
It's a nice
airports
one,
in the
yeah.
world,
I like it.
it is nice. They now let you get a biometric health scan when you enter the airport, where they make a 3D model of your face and save all kinds of details. No way they could use that to frame you for saying something in a video that you didn't actually say.
Or steal your identity.
Steal your identity, place you somewhere in a photo that could be used as evidence.
Phillips Auction House.
But
I
the
don't know
point
if
I'm
this-
getting at is they scan your face and then you can move through the airport easily. England has just announced that if you want to, like get the vaccine and do whatever, they'll give you this, free passport where you can conduct your life normally, apparently.
If I could just interrupt you.
Sure.
This is the place. I want to apologize to the president if he's ever going to watch any of our videos. I'll redo the scene. He was striding like this around the corner, and I was like, whoa. I nearly knocked him down. And I want to say it was maybe 93, 94 time frame. We were both going at very high speed.
That's
And-
pretty funny to be able to recreate that. I'll tell you who's creating stories with characters is us, Charles. People who've been following the show for the 3 years or whatever it is that we've been doing it. That's a story you've told before.
Right.
Here we are now reliving it. People really feel like they're kind of on a journey with us.
Well, welcome aboard.
But the governor was just giving press conferences, and
by
frankly,
Zoom, right?
no, he was, he's in a room there in Albany or something where he forces everybody to wear masks and then tells them, do not be obnoxious
Right.
with your tone.
Right.
The schools will close.
Yeah. He's a doofus. And by the way, we're also hurling. I don't know if there's a deal struck to keep the government open, but we're hurtling towards a date by which,
Shut
in
down.
theory, they have to have a deal negotiated. And it's possible the government might shut down, which to me is something that should have been forced upon us. It should have been, if you're going to shut the private economy down, then all right, you're going to shut
Yeah.
the government side down without pay.
Right,
And then we'll see just how long lockdowns are imperative.
right.
So
Now,
this-
here we see another movie production going on, so it seems like something must have changed. We're seeing a lot of these trailers around. I just saw that they announced in California that no overnight on-location productions can happen. I don't know what the details of that mean, but it would seem to disrupt the normal process of production in a way that could make it not possible.
Yeah. Well, this is this 55th Street is the street. This particular block actually is the block where the firm that I co-founded in 1994 and 5 was originally based at 70 West 55th, East 55th Street.
You
Right
could
there.
put it here so that you could be conveniently located in front of New York's only Ferrari dealership?
Yeah, you know, I come down here, drive the Ferrari down from the home, drop it off to be fixed. No, I didn't have a Ferrari.
What do you think it costs to rent? I mean, this is just crazy money right here with the Ferrari dealership.
I would guess that is pretty expensive. I can tell you, we got a great deal in 1994 and 5 because the economy was really depressed. You want to walk and see the building?
Yeah,
You
sure.
may as well. We can take a look at the Ferraris. Which one do you want? You've got a Ferrari.
Yeah, I haven't been up on my Ferraris lately, but if you're going to get a Ferrari, Charles, it's got to be, you know, mid-engine, 12-cylinder boxer. There it is.
The yellow one or this one?
You know, I don't know. I enjoy cars, but if it was my actual money, I don't know that I would.
Right.
I would have to have a hell of a lot of money to buy a Ferrari.
A very tall bill stack, as they say. So this is the building here, and we had the entire second floor of this building, Heron Tower.
Nice.
And
What's a heron?
that's just
It's
the
a
guy's
bird,
name,
isn't
the
it?
developer's name was Heron. And right over there, Jason, what do you think that is?
A tree?
No, the building that's all gritty looking.
I don't know.
The Friars Club.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So we had a client when I was working here who wanted me to join the Friars Club.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And I should have. I mean, I could have met
You can get roasted.
Seinfeld and all those other people. We had meals in there a bunch of times.
Let's take a look at that. What goes on at the Friars Club?
It's supposedly a club for comedians, originally for comedians and actors, and then they widened its, quote, appeal to young business people.
Okay,
And that's
now it
funny,
says-
this is the Jerry Lewis Monastery. So back in the day, Dean Martin was in this, I think, and, you know, very famous people.
What do they mean, Jerry Lewis Monastery?
Well, a friar is a religious order. This is not, it's a fake religious allusion to religion. And so this is, in theory, where the friars get together. And
That's strange.
it was for men only. I think they've changed it, but I don't know that for sure.
Is this the comedy equivalent of the Freemasons?
I don't think it's anything to do with Freemasons. So actually, you see that lit office there
Yep.
on the second floor? That was my office right there.
Nice.
Anyway, maybe let's keep going down
Sure.
Park. Should I?
Yeah. It's nice to check this stuff out, Charles.
Sure.
I mean, you know, people who are sitting at home feeling the, you know, stress of.
Well, I think the bargain hunters who are looking at this and saying, New York is going to get a lot worse and stay that way for a lot long, and because I like to be miserable, I'm going to pack up all my stuff in Palm Beach or Wyoming where there are no low taxes and rush up to New York so I can be mugged, taxed, punished, abused
Yeah.
by arrogant, idiotic government buffoons and goons. I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see
No, you're not.
a
And I mean,
giant
you know,
sucking sound out of
Charles,
here.
I'm sorry to keep coming back to this, but this Emmy Award for Andrew Cuomo is so distasteful and inappropriate. Even if I had nothing going on with the Emmys, it's a slap in the face to everyone in New York. I don't see how anyone could think that Andrew Cuomo is doing a remotely good job.
I think it's like they become participation trophies. I mean, Obama got a Nobel Prize, a Grammy, an Oscar,
Did he get
a presidency, a senatorship,
what did he get a Grammy for?
audiobook.
Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you something else funny about the Grammys. There is a musical act, a guy called The Weeknd, who apparently was going to be nominated for all these Grammys, and then he was going to perform at the Grammys and the Super Bowl, and something about the negotiations broke down. I mean, I guess he probably wanted more money than they wanted to give him or something like that. So they said no. And then also he was snubbed at the Grammys. So he said, oh, the Grammys are corrupt. It's all cronyism.
You get him on your show.
I would like to get him on my show, but the thing that's funny is that the guy who's the head of the Grammys responded and didn't actually deny the cronyism. So one of the things that the Emmys are so upset about in the lawsuit against my company is that I've alleged that Hollywood is based, wait, hang on.
We've got it.
Based on cronyism. And they're like, oh, that's ridiculous.
That's not the way the Academy Awards worked back in the day when the studios controlled the actors.
Of course it is.
So this must be one big production.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's see if we can see what it is.
I don't think you'll be able to figure it out by that. It would have a code name anyway.
Friday, this is something different. Anchor Point. This is Friday, December 4th.
Yeah, but that's not the actual.
I'd love to be this guy, Haddad, who
Yeah.
has all these trailers. He's based, I think, in Pennsylvania somewhere. And when the movie season is in full swing, these trailers are everywhere. And
Yeah.
I'm certain that they charge an arm and a leg.
Oh, yeah. And it's all union operating them, driving them, cleaning them,
Smell the
catering
dope?
them. Yep.
More dope?
Providing the weed. That's going to be the Weed World Union.
And this, by the way, this is which building is this? This is the Unilever building, I think.
Done work for Unilever.
And this is, I think this is Unilever building. And very famous back in the day, architecture. It's past its prime now. And this is the Racket Club, which is...
Got to be closed.
Oh, absolutely. I used to be a member of it. It's a wonderful place. If you like sports, I mean racket sports. It's one of the I think it may be the only club in New York City, I may have that wrong, that has court tennis, which is the original tennis that was played by the monks in France. So it's like a stone courtyard. That's to protect.
Look at that, Charles. That's
Yeah,
kind
they're
of
not
unique.
messing
We
around.
haven't seen anybody else cover their place in steel like that.
Yeah. This is a club that really pissed the Clintons off in that it's to this day men only, and the various and sundry members are quite conservative politically. There's a shock. I was a member. And somehow the Clinton administration found out that they had Cuban cigars. They were selling Cuban cigars. So I came along the street, I think, or may have seen it on television. They took the manager of this club and they handcuffed him in a raid where they raided the cigar humidors of the members, and they produced all these Cuban cigars and made a big issue of it and said they were going to shut the place down. And then they discovered that the Cuban cigars in the humidor were pre-Castro.
Wow.
And were
So they were
therefore
legal.
Yeah, but that was when Hillary was running the country in the early period of the Bill Clinton presidency, and she was on a tear against men-only clubs. And she wanted to make, I think they wanted to make an example. Didn't work out that well for them.
But I guess if you want to fly loads of cocaine from Nicaragua to Mena, Arkansas, that's fine.
You got to do that.
That's totally okay. But get those damn cigars out of here.
Exactly. So
We can expect more of that, Charles. If this cheat is allowed to go through, they're just going to weaponize the Department of Justice and any investigation into any potential wrongdoing having to do with this election or anything else.
by the tone of Trump appeared by video link, a Zoom call or whatever. Into
Well, I actually was just on a girl's iPhone, Rudy Giuliani's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she just held the iPhone up to the mic. And then somebody was calling her while Trump was speaking. You could hear it beeping. You know there was somebody like, oh, you're on television.
So over there you have, in the left, you have the Waldorf Astoria, which was bought by the Chinese, and no doubt.
Was it?
Yeah, and no doubt they're spending a lot of extra time and energy putting the cameras and microphones into every room.
Huh.
That's one place I am never going to set, so long as the Chinese Communist Party owns that asset, I will not go anywhere near it.
I think it's overrated, Charles. You know, it's one of these
Oh, I
places
agree.
that you go in there and the rooms are just like stuffy,
Yeah,
old,
I've stayed there. Yeah, it's well located.
and it's a famous name and everything.
The presidential suite's pretty amazing. In fact, I was in there in the presidential suite because I was meeting with MBS's older brother, who was an investor in that firm we just walked by.
Wow.
And he was visiting and staying in the presidential suite there.
Huh.
It was a being there moment.
Rudy Giuliani mentioned being there.
Oh, what a great movie.
Well, it made me think he must be watching our show.
Maybe he is. I hope he is. He deserves a few laughs. So, yeah, this place is going to be a disaster for the investors. Maybe they don't care about it. My God, this is now empty.
What was this?
I think it was some kind of bank.
It looks like a bank for sure.
But look at this.
Empty. It's pretty wild, Charles. I
It's
mean,
like- and we know that Dr. Doom, Joe
Well-
Biden, should he be installed, they want to lock it down again. We'll let you have Christmas, but we're going to have to go to a mandatory lockdown for all of January, maybe February. And this
Wow.
started as, if you remember, 15 days to slow the spread. Right? Sounds good. Watch it. Water.
oh, what a jackass.
No, I used to walk this route. That has been like this forever. They aim for that. I did warn you.
Well, for people who missed that, there's a huge puddle that guy kind of tried to spray on us.
Yeah, that for some reason, with all, I mean, it's not like this is a remote corner in Manhattan. It's pretty important. But for some reason, all the money we spend, people spend on road maintenance in New York City, they've never managed to fix that. Now, what's this?
Also out of business.
Yeah,
Also looks like a bank.
it's called Virtual New York.
Colgate Palmolive building.
Another famous one.
Well, they're looking for tenants.
Oh, I thought that said for a second, please wear a face while in common areas, but I guess it says
Yeah.
face covering. Amazon Go.
I know, these are showing up everywhere. This is just walk in and have something on your phone, I think, and it knows what you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
Just walk out shopping. That actually has been going on since June.
And there are no employees, right?
Smash in and just walk. I think there's like one, but that's the idea, is that somehow your phone knows what you're buying, or RFID tags know what you're buying, or you walk in and it registers that you're in there, and I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, no employees, that's their idea.
So the business model is you don't employ people, but you make a multi-billionaire, guy who's worth over 100 billion, even richer. And then to redress the inequality, you hire a bunch of overpaid, unnecessary government workers whose work you never check. And you give them gigantic pensions. That's the system.
It's a terrible
What is-
system, but what do you think of this weird, gigantic Muppet in the lobby here,
I
Charles?
don't know. This is what happens when a second wife gets involved, second wife of the owner of the building gets involved, choosing art.
But, I mean, doesn't this mean something with the mark on his hand and the X's on his eyes? This is like Elmo
I know
or
nothing
something.
about this. This used to be the Bankers Trust building. I don't know what it is.
Isn't Teneo in here?
Are they in here now?
I don't know. I feel like I've been in this building for some reason. And
I
can't
worked in this
remember
building twice. In the summer of 1977 and from 1992 to 1994.
why. Don't you find this a remarkably odd sculpture?
Again, it's when the second wife is in charge of choosing art, this is what you get. And probably they overpaid it. You know, they're probably, oh yeah, that's a big thing, honey. It's at least worth $6 million.
Oh.
Think of the materials.
I mean, this looks like you would have it at like Disneyland or
Let's put it
Sesame
this way.
Street or something.
In 5th grade, I think I've told you this story, in art, I have no talent in drawing, none.
Right.
And the teacher said, draw a straight line, and I couldn't do it. without a ruler. And she just wailed on me, 5th grade art class, in front of the whole class. You're an idiot. How come you can't draw a straight line? That is the kind of product I would produce. And I have no talent.
Well, I think that takes talent to produce. It just strikes me as strange to put it in a building that adults are going to go to because it seems like a Sesame Street character.
Yeah. Well, now this is J.P. Morgan's, the site of its worldwide headquarters. Of course, they're tearing it down.
Why?
Because that's just what big banks eventually get to do. They wanted to
tear it down.
Well, they had a bunch of staff scattered all over the place, and they wanted to concentrate them in this facility. And they're literally tearing this down to the ground and putting up a much taller structure.
Right here?
Right here. Which in the middle of it, according to reports in the press, is going to have one floor is going to be a forest in the middle of the building.
I like that.
Really?
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I like the idea of a forest in a building.
I know, but J.P. Morgan is supposed to make a return for its shareholders. It's not supposed to be, putting forests and 37 stories above the earth.
What if they? Maybe it's good for people's mental.
It's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's not for you to use.
Oh, what will they put there?
In theory, to maybe counterattack CO2.
Oh, but it's not like a park or something?
No.
Oh, that's strange. I don't think it's going to make a difference because it's going to be counterattacking all the CO2 enclosed within the building.
Exactly. So now we're headed, I don't know, will your transmission get cut off if we go through Grand Central Station?
We've been through it. I think
we're
they
going to have
have
to put
cellular.
on masks.
I don't think you have to put on a mask inside there if you're 6 feet apart. We'll see. Oh, I don't know if I have a mask.
I have one, but
I don't think I have one.
I do see what looks to be like either an MTA van or a police van.
I don't think you need a mask inside the train station. You need it on the train.
We could just pretend we don't speak English.
That's true. But then, malicious social engineers will report it for whatever. If they tell us we need a mask, then I'll leave.
All right. So this is the Helmsley building, and I guess is this the? Oh, this used to be a drugstore.
Totally out.
Gone.
Impatient people waiting to get home to not celebrate Thanksgiving.
Right.
So Charles, do you think we're going to get a positive result from this Pennsylvania legislature hearing?
I think it's a step along the way. The one judge the hearing happened. There's been one state judge stopped the certification in Pennsylvania, or a portion of the certification.
That seems like a huge deal.
Well, and then the Secretary of State, I think immediately, is it Bookvar the Secretary of State or the Attorney General?
I think this Bookvar is the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, she appealed. Probably it'll have a tough decision at the appeals court state level. And then the goal is, I think, to get this into the Supreme Court on multiple grounds.
It doesn't smell like urine in this tunnel.
Does it?
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
No, we want to go in this way, right?
Okay.
So this is more scenic, if we can get in.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, urban space is doing well.
Doesn't
Boarded
look
up.
like it.
Wow. Is this? I think we can go, maybe we can go in that way. This used to be Centro, the restaurant.
Yeah.
That was a great restaurant.
The sign. Didn't we go there one time?
With Barry for your birthday.
Right, but I thought you're not supposed to mention it.
Oh. Who did I? With who? Larry?
Top secret. Yeah.
Looks to me like you can't go in that way, so maybe we have to go
Okay.
around.
But let's go on the sidewalk.
That's a good idea. I'm down with that.
I have to tell you, Charles, oh, that says dental done differently. For some reason, I thought it said tone deaf. And I was thinking of the Emmys.
And Biden.
And Biden. I really do feel like it's almost like when you're watching a boxing match and your guy is getting pounded and he's not doing anything, and you're like, come on, man, get your hands up, throw some punches.
Right.
And now he just, you know, he ducked a right hook and popped the other guy and knocked him back. I was like, there he is, Trump on the phone.
Yeah, we can go this way.
It really felt like a significant move in the right direction. I hope.
And yeah, so what I think they're going to try to do, I mean, they're playing the thin case, the surface level case. The people have spoken. You're dragging this out. You're petulant. You're a spoiled brat. You know, and now the clamor will come for just respect the will of the people. Count all the votes, they're going to say, and we're going to say no, count the legal votes, and then they're going to say, well, you're trying to disenfranchise only black people.
No, fake people and dead people.
Right. And there are lots of dead people. One of these witnesses, and I forget where, was explaining that when they looked carefully, I think it might have been Giuliani who was reading this out, they were looking carefully at some of the names who supposedly had voted, and there was Mary April Smith and Mary May Smith and Mary June Smith.
Duplicate names.
And you can be a little bit more creative than that.
I see the same thing in the sock puppet accounts that they use, you know? Because I guess when you're trying to create thousands of fake names, how do you think of names? Movie characters and variations on names and...
You could put our next chapter 11 has just begun. Chapter 11 being bankruptcy.
Yes.
I mean, this is all of these stores are out. All of the restaurants, everything gone.
It's really unbelievable.
And for those who haven't been to New York City, this is a prime commuting node to up to the expensive neighborhoods in upstate New York and
Westchester and stuff.
Westchester and Connecticut. And people will live in these fancy homes an hour from here, half an hour by train, stumble out of the train, go across the street, go to these offices, and then in a normal period, they'll patronize the restaurants for breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks. They'll shop. Around this time, they'd be shopping for beginning to do Christmas and Hanukkah shopping. And it would be thriving. It's actually pretty warm right now.
It's 50, really,
52 degrees, but I didn't know if it was how much it was gonna drop, which is why I wore the overcoat.
And socks today? Oh,
I did wear them. I'm
very
styling.
good, Charles.
You wear socks from, say, late November to late March.
I always wear socks.
But then you're trapping your feet. Now, normally this.
Let's go in. Yeah, no, this is okay. This is good. This should be okay. If we lose signal, you know, there'll be a more complete broadcast later. Yeah, no signs saying that you need a mask.
So this used to be Michael Jordan's restaurant. It's obviously gone. And this used to be an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, and the Apple store is still open.
If we stand here, I mean, normally this would just be chock-a-block filled with people at this time. We're 5:20.
I mean, a crazy mad rush of people.
You see the 528, track 29, that was the train I used to take home frequently. It's a very good train. Croton Harmon's way up there, and you get to Poughkeepsie in like an hour and 40 minutes or so, which is a good 80 miles north of here. But this is just, to me, mind-numbing, that it would be so few people. And there's the Apple store there, but no other store that I see.
You know, Charles, we really need to, I think, stay on this for a moment, because it's not just the fact that it's 5:30 right now. This should be literally one of the busiest days of the year right here in Grand Central Station, because people would be, you know, rushing home to get to, you know, the night before Thanksgiving, to be with their family, relatives coming from out of town. This should be teeming with people, loud with the cacophony of just regular sounds amplified by the literal thousands that should be in here. This is virtually empty.
Progress.
Unbelievable.
Or lack thereof. There's an Army guy.
Yeah.
So shall we go down
Yeah.
that way? And then we'll walk down Park to you.
Sure. So we've now, Charles, been through many seasons. I mean, this all began in March, where we were walking around in jackets because it was still a little bit cool.
Right. It was
And
quite
then we've
cool.
been through the summer and
Fall.
the fall, and now winter is upon us. And it's just remarkable. Now, there's usually a Christmas tree over here, right?
I don't know. There's usually a food court here.
But then on this side, they have the Christmas tree, I think.
Do they? Yeah.
I think sometimes.
Well, this food court is thriving. Look at this.
No, it's been closed for a while, and then they've had guards in there because I guess homeless people were sleeping there. But in the past, there has been a Christmas tree in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so quiet here.
Tomb-like.
It just doesn't really make me feel comfortable at all to have these like body armor, army dudes
Yeah,
walking
let's
around.
not.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think I could out-talk them, but I'm sure I can't out-shoot them.
Right.
And so this is across the way is Pershing Square. Oh, thank you. Thanks. That restaurant. I don't know if you've been there. And then look at the underside. We've talked about this before. Look at the underside of this roadway. Does that inspire confidence? I mean,
it doesn't. It looks like it could probably be a little bit better.
I mean, maybe it sounds, maybe, but when business is operating normally, this is a prime north-south artery in Manhattan. A lot of car traffic goes at pretty high speed over this stuff.
Right. This is
Here we
the
go.
Park Avenue tunnel. It leads to, doesn't it? Or
Yeah.
not?
The Tunnel of Love.
The Love Gov. That's what. Oh, how did you like? I don't know if you got a chance to see Andrew Cuomo's acceptance speech, Charles, but he threatened Ben Stiller.
I did hear about that.
I mean, he's joking, of course, but if you or I did something like that in social media, you run the risk of being thrown off, and then there's no opportunity to say, "Oh, it was a joke."
But
They'll say,
what I don't get is the whole, isn't it? What's Fauci's first name? Anthony. Careful. Is
yes, and they want you to not get into this stereotype about Italian mafiosos, and then he goes and feeds into it himself.
Right, but Anthony Fauci, Andrew Cuomo, two Italian people with Italian Americans whose first names begin with A,
Right.
who I think their parents wanted to name him asshole, but that wasn't possible at birth, lecturing the world.
Yeah.
They're instant experts. I mean, everything that Fauci, every bit of advice that Fauci has given us is proven wrong. Every single bit.
Right.
Go on Tinder dates.
Well, that actually worked.
During the pandemic?
No, haven't tried. But the point is, when someone in a bar called Chris Cuomo
Right.
Fredo, and he was like, "Oh, that's a stereotype, Italian Americans, that's not fair." And then he's like, "Ben Stiller, I know where you live."
I know.
It's like, oh,
That's one of the things I think we all need to grow up a little bit. You need to be willing. I've certainly poked fun at myself, and you need to be willing to do that.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the hypocrisy
Right.
I don't like.
And it's not like Cuomo is a king, and we haven't yet drilled into his charity yet, which we're going to do for as
Yeah,
a New Year's
let's do
present.
that, please.
Sure. We'll study that pretty carefully. So I was, I think, telling you before that this is a nice part of Manhattan, even today. When I bought my first apartment, my only apartment, in 1984 or 3, it wasn't that different than it is now, this particular area. It's a little bit of an oasis. I don't think that may have changed any schools around here. There's a high school a little bit down the way on Park Avenue South. And it used to be in the 83 time frame that there were more restaurants that actually functioned.
8 months ago, there used to be more restaurants.
But there were some nice ones. And this is
A lot of hotels right here.
right. And so this is from a standpoint of if you're a young person or a couple and you're both working in business as I was with Clarissa, we were doing a lot of traveling. You just get flag a cab and you're to LaGuardia Airport quickly, to Kennedy quickly,
Right.
even to Newark relatively quickly.
Yeah, you got to fight the crosstown traffic then.
Right, or you just walk over and take New Jersey Transit if you want to do that. But so it's very calm and peaceful. You can see that now. One of the many mistakes I made in real estate was selling that thing. I should have kept it because it was a pretty nice small apartment, 1,000 square feet or something, but so well located. And later on, when I moved upstate, had I kept the place, I could have used it instead of paying for hotel rooms, which I did.
True. Well, it's really quiet right now on Park Avenue here, Charles.
It's often quite quiet here, even in active times.
I noticed walking around here a few days ago that, you know, I don't know why this is, but these fancy apartment buildings tend to have doctor's offices on the ground floor. I saw one out of business. I've never seen a doctor's office out of business.
Right.
That's
Yeah, this
weird.
used to be the Doral Hotel, and then some French firm bought it, I think.
Looks like they're renovating it or something.
This is the Gitano Hotel. It was
Right.
about half the size of this, and then they bought the adjacent building and knocked both buildings down and built this big thing. That used to have, I think, pretty good Japanese food.
Yeah, they have
in
a
the
restaurant right in the ground floor there. Getting pretty dark here, Charles. This is like late night edition.
So dark they can't see us?
No, no.
Okay.
Still able to get a remarkably good low light performance from these tiny little sensors in these cameras.
Well, that's because they're of the technological input of the 21st century 3D technical department.
No, this is Apple making these.
Jason, I'm trying to give you a plug here.
Appreciate it, Charles. But yeah, that hotel looks pretty empty.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess we won't know what the outcome. People were saying that there was something released by OAN, but I didn't catch exactly what that was.
Well, yeah, so OAN, has a bunch of evidence they released, and they also were deplatformed by YouTube.
Yeah,
They
I
were
saw that.
suspended for 12 months and then deplatformed.
12 months?
Yeah. I
Over
suppose
what?
I actually wouldn't have been pretty happy if I kept this apartment because the apartment is directly above this. Right there. That air conditioner and that was my apartment. Would have been kind of a bummer to have the scaffolding right there.
Yeah, well, who knows how long this is here. Actually, I think this is the building that had the doctor's office out of business, but I can't recall exactly.
And this is something, I mean, you've got some medical experience. These Quest Diagnostics boxes
Right.
consist of waste,
Right, biohazard.
right? How can it make sense to leave these boxes outdoors and unattended? I mean, are you telling me that the boxes are actually able to keep any potentially infectious material
Sealed?
sealed?
I think they might be because they put them in plastic things and whatever.
So that's the apartment building, 50 Park Avenue. This is the Union League Club, which is a very nice club. And and the J.P. Morgan Library. The Morgan Library is right there in the corner. His house was
Yeah,
was his
and that's the
original house.
Morgan Hotel now, isn't it?
Up the street, yeah. So this is more or less the way it used to be. That used to be a hotel, and they knocked it down and put up condos. But you see how it is? It's very peaceful and pleasant and boring, which
Yeah.
is what I like.
Yeah, I mean, if we could like lose the masks, lose the craziness, and get some of the businesses and restaurants back, New York would still be great.
Yeah. So here we have the Union League Club, and next to it, I think this is the either Guatemalan or Honduran consulate. What is it? El Salvador, Permanent Mission and Consulate General of El Salvador.
Where is MS-13 coming from?
Right there.
I think Guatemala, right? Or El Salvador?
I think all the above.
Huh.
More of these waste boxes?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you can almost hear a pin drop.
It's very unusual. I guess people are, there was a lot of articles saying that in defiance of Thanksgiving cancellations, people were still planning to travel to do Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I got to think that that's not a smart move, because you leave, and that's fine, but then, that's interesting.
I couldn't tell what that was coming
It's a
at
scooter.
us.
Yeah. You leave, you get to your destination, and then they tell you, oh, by the way,
Q-tip in the nose.
yeah,
Here,
well,
this is it.
right, medical space for lease. Amazing. They joke about being a Park Avenue doctor. How could this be vacant?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's real kudos to be able to say, I'm a Park Avenue doctor.
Because normally what happens is just even from the people who live in the apartment building, you would have enough, if it's an eye doctor or a dentist or whatever, enough people go in there just from living in the building that it's a very desirable place to have your office.
I think it's the case now in New York that the top-end doctors don't take insurance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you want a leaf blower, Charles?
Yeah, to blow all that hospital waste all over the place. Blow the coronavirus around.
Why are they leaving a leaf blower out?
I don't know.
There's no trees around.
You're always asking questions,
I mean,
Jason.
this is a strange thing.
So should we go down Madison through Madison Square Park?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So maybe that way? Or
Oh, I'm feeling weirdness in this thing again. We're getting hit by radio waves.
yeah, that's
Let's go
what I'm
this way.
saying. From memory, right around here is where you
Yeah,
get hit.
that's weird.
This is again near 34th Street. So maybe it's a 34th Street thing.
So I can't imagine what is doing that. We're getting bombarded with some sort of electromagnetic frequency over there.
Uh-huh.
I could feel the handle twitching
Wow.
because this has got, magnetic motors in it.
So you asked, what do I think is going to happen
It's happening
next?
again with the twitching.
Is it?
Yes. What do you think is going to happen next, Charles?
I think the other side is going to try, as they did on the Saturday after Election Day, to craft some sort of event where they can try to find the narrative that there's no path.
We lost sound.
Okay.
Hang on.
Back.
Yes.
That there's no path for Trump, and that therefore all these lawsuits need to stop, and COVID cases will spike further. There'll be stories in these key places that the hospitals are now filling up again, and it's irresponsible for Trump to go and campaign for the Georgia Senate candidates. They're going to try a clampdown.
Yeah.
And they're just going to try to intimidate with brute force. And in addition to which, one thing I haven't mentioned, which I'd like to it's going to seem like a segue. I noticed that the theory has always been that the Chinese are going to, the nail in the coffin for the United States is that the Chinese are going to dump their holdings of substantial holdings of U.S. government debt. And recently I noticed...
Treasury bonds, or what is that?
Treasury notes and bonds, yeah. And recently I noticed that in fact Chinese 10-year interest rates, so the interest rates they have to pay on their 10-year government debt are substantially higher than U.S., which is interesting.
What does that mean?
What it means is they don't have that leverage. They don't have the ability to dump our stuff because they have to pay on their paper higher rates than we have to pay. So I actually think that economically China's a lot weaker than we are. I think that militarily they're a lot weaker than we are.
Wouldn't that result in them having to resort to an asymmetric warfare tactic like bio warfare
which
psychological cyber warfare?
which may already have happened. But I think it's this line that Xi had to Biden today, or the last 24 hours or so. We need to have a win-win.
Audio went again, Charles.
Yes. Well, that's some work cut out for you. I would pick it up like a clock.
Hang on.
It seems to be 34th Street.
Every
time I think I have an understanding of what causes it, something different. Wait, there's still no sound here. Okay, it's back.
This used to be a big carpet shop, wasn't it?
It was a furniture thing, right? Design Within Reach or something, or the something design center. But anyway, sorry. So China, Treasury notes, Xi talking to Biden.
In the last 24 hours, there are reports of ominous, vast movements of Chinese military assets in the South China Sea. Yeah. So I think they're closing in for the kill. They're very much afraid, the Chinese are, of the laptop from hell. They're very much afraid of Trump at this point.
He didn't fire Ray or Barr or Haspel
yet.
Right.
Yeah, I think the whole handling of the Justice Department and the IRS will turn out to be some of the worst decisions that Donald Trump has made in his long career. You would have thought that he knew better. Look at this. Everything's
I
going.
know. Leon's rugs. It's bad, Charles. See, and I agree with what you're saying about Trump making poor decisions with regard to the Department of Justice, but it's another reason why we really need the second term right now, because he's just kind of getting up to speed.
Right. And a take no prisoners second term. I mean, if you can talk as they're talking now, I actually think it was a mistake for Scarborough and Carville and others to agitate for prosecuting Trump and the Trump family, because that's actually going to just make him fight harder. Another one out.
But it's also just based on what? I mean,
well, based on what they've been doing since Crossfire Hurricane and before.
Right. But when you talk about prosecuting the Clintons, you provide very specific evidence, very specific allegations.
Right.
They're not doing that.
I know. Because they're crooked.
Yeah.
They're just straight up crooked. And it really is disappointing. I mean, we all know about Tammany Hall. We know about periods in different portions of America, Atlantic City, you name it. The historic Hot Springs, Arkansas, places that are notoriously corrupt. But it's so disappointing to see Washington, D.C. as the epicenter of global corruption, and bold global corruption.
It's almost like the epicenter of the epicenter, Charles.
Right. The epicenter. And they're going to sell a boatload of this stuff.
Well, I mean, these are sort of super expensive. I mean, that chair looks like a woman.
The which one?
The chair with boobs.
Yeah.
Now,
It's at the Madison Square Park.
Something's frozen here on the screen. I think we might be moments away from this broadcast ending as well. It's not working. Something weird is happening.
Well, if we need to sign out, we need to sign out.
No, hang on. We'll see if we can correct this. Whoa. Yeah, that's something. This is disconnected. They're messing hard, these radio signals, with our. See, it's no longer connected. Let's see if we can get it back here. Doesn't appear to be wanting to work.
That's it?
No, we give it one more shot. Hang on. Ah, there it is. This is the Face ID. I've got to turn sideways to get it to work. Not working. Okay, so Charles, we'll sign off here.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Stay safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes,